And I think that stuffing down how it is that we feel about certain things or just pushing through, hustling with no heart. I have a sweatshirt on that says hustle with heart, which is different, right? And so just like hustling and the bustle and pushing and all of that, it gets us far financially and it gets us successful on the outside, which is 100% the way that I could say that my life sort of looked and felt. And, I had a large team of people reporting to me. And I had a lot of women specifically just ask, because I'm also a mom, asking me, how do you do it all? And I'm like, you just do. You just do. You just have to make it happen is sort of like the way that I would say it. It's like, what kind of coaching is that, to my team? Like, you just make it happen.
Welcome to Hopeful and Wholesome, the show where ambitious women come home to their bodies. I'm your host, Hope Adragna, and I'm a functional practitioner, human design guide, and expert on all things energy, and your partner in decoding the language of your body. This is your space to reconnect with your body's wisdom, reclaim your energy, and rise into alignment in your health, your business, and your life. Because thriving isn't about pushing harder, it's about learning to listen deeper. So let's dive in because your next breakthrough starts right now. Hey y'all, welcome back to Hopeful and Wholesome. Today I have on the show my friend Annie Adragna, and I'm super excited to have her on the show. She is a fulfillment mentor, coach, and strategist, and host of the Luminous Life Podcast. She helps high-achieving Type A business owners and professionals create success that feels as good as it looks. Through her True Alignment Pathway, which we'll talk about in this episode, Annie guides clients from overextended and restless to clear, confident, and aligned. In 2025, the fall of 2025, she launched the Vibrant Life Project, a rapid impact coaching program that transforms lives in 45 days or less, really impressive, helping clients reclaim their energy, focus, and fulfillment and bring the sparkle back into their eyes, which I absolutely love. And in today's episode, we're talking about what happens when success stops feeling good, and what happens when the success we thought we wanted, just even when we feel like we're seeing it happen right in front of us, just doesn't feel like we thought it would feel, and how to get back to not only alignment, but fulfillment, and how to find that fulfillment in the success, what it means when we've kind of lost that feeling, and then how we get it back, and how it's not just the external metrics that are that measure of success, but that true fulfillment, how to get back to that and what it looks like in real life, in real time for ambitious women. I'm super excited about this conversation with Annie, so let's jump in. All right, y'all, I'm here with Annie. Annie, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm so excited.
Hey, I'm so excited too. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I had the honor of being on Annie's podcast, which you can go find. Of course, the link is in the show notes to go find her podcast. And we are so aligned on so many things because I feel like we work with women in a similar capacity, but just in different ways. And I want to start by asking you, because one of the things you talk about a lot is, helping women find fulfillment, right? And I think so often we try to convince ourselves that we're fulfilled, but really we're just stuck in the hustle. And I would love to hear you talk about that and what does that look like? And and we hear these stories, I'm sure you hear it all the time, the stories of women who quote unquote get there, but they don't feel anything when they get there. So I'd love for you to speak on that.
Absolutely. Well, I'll first kind of back up just a little bit with my own story. So I had grown up as just like a people pleaser, basically, and realized really quickly that I could get myself further by being a people pleaser. And, I think that stuffing down how it is that we feel about certain things or just pushing through, hustling with no heart. I have a sweatshirt on that says hustle with heart, which is different, right? And so just like hustling and the bustle and pushing and all of that, it gets us far financially and it gets us successful on the outside, which is 100% the way that I could say that my life sort of looked and felt. And I, had a large team of people reporting to me, and I had a lot of women specifically just ask, because I'm also a mom, asking me, how do you do it all? And I'm like, you just do. You just do. you just have to make it happen is sort of like the way that I would say it. It's like, what kind of coaching is that, to my team? Like, you just make it happen. I also would advise people on compartmentalize all the stuff that now I'm just like, absolutely not. And so, I not so surprisingly found myself in massive adrenal burnout. I looked really healthy, right? So like I had like the look of someone who's very healthy, jacked arms and a super flat stomach. And I drove like a really nice car, and I have 2 homes, and I have a child that could be on the cover of like a magazine, like all the things, Pottery Barn, just like all the stuff, like the badges and the resume and all of that stuff. And my body just started like falling apart essentially. And I started having a lot of anxiety. So I think for a lot of us that do that, we have certain things that pop up, but like specifically, like you just stop wanting to do all the things that you once did. And so for me, I had not painted in a really long time, and I love painting. I had not taken myself on like the vacation that feels really good. I love being in the tropics. I love traveling and exploring. I didn't allow myself to dream. I didn't allow myself to feel joy or laughter or like just enjoy like what I actually had in front of me. Like it was one of those things where like, I said I had a nice car. Well, I mean, I did not grow up with very much money. Like having a Lexus for me was like, I was almost embarrassed of it. If that's, I was embarrassed that I had it because I didn't feel worthy. So like, it's more like there's not just one thing, but I think that there's all these things that sort of bubble up. And of course, our human design and our gene keys like are all part of like, what is it? But there are these things that are common for some of us, and it's the unworthiness. Like I didn't feel worthy enough to drive the car that I worked for. I felt almost embarrassed that I had a house, as a single mom, like in this like fancy Chicago northern suburb. Felt like I needed to over-explain myself all the time. And so it pops up, anxiety happened. And even I've said this before on even my own podcast, like I didn't want to even open the door for the like a delivery guy, like the carry out or pizza guy. I was too nervous. I closed all the blinds because I was paranoid that people were going to start like looking in my house. I was paranoid to have new friends because what would people think if I was doing something and having fun, even though I was recently divorced? And like the story goes on. I took a lot of diet pills because I needed to maintain like this skinny girl like factor. My arms needed to look a certain level of tone. So it was just literally like outrunning and trying to keep up this thing that I thought was going to there was going to be like this end goal. And it just never came. Like instead I started having like a lot of eczema, and I started losing my hair, and I got a sinus infection that was every single year. And I've talked about this too, like it was gross, but I got the most disgusting sty in my eye that has ever, like it was so gross. I could like not even open my eye. It was so bad. And like it was thing after thing after thing. And it was also the time where I started like realizing that like spirituality was literally chasing me down. Like it was hunting me with like a rifle down. And so, yeah, so I mean, I don't know if that fully answered your question, but like, I think that happens to so many of us that like, there's these, I'm not a millionaire yet, but like there's these super successful like millionaires and billionaires that literally are like the lonely recluse. And like that would have been me had I not started listening and seeing what was in front of me and witnessing myself as like an observer.
Yeah, what was that? How did that happen? Like, what was the moment where you recognized like that's what you needed to do to be the observer?
There's certainly not one spot for me because I'm super stubborn. So, I would say there was a few things that kind of started, and I have, again, talked about this on my podcast, but I met a woman. So my job was I was running this health club company here in the States. It's called Lifetime Fitness. So I was a general manager of a Lifetime Fitness. And one of my massage therapists, her name was Mary, she would come into my office and we would just talk. And like, she was this energy lady, like she was super weird in my mind. And I'm like, you're cool. I like you. And she introduced me to this woman who was like an angel medium. And so this angel medium, she's since passed, but I believe she guides me all the time. She was like 87 at the time. Her name was Jackie. She started like talking to me about these concepts and things that I for sure didn't really feel ready to hear at that point because it was very scary for me. But I was ready for it because it started opening my eyes to energy and how I felt and these spiritual things that were chasing me down. Like there was one point I was just having this horrible day. I had a lot of horrible days back then, but I'm in my office and just like having a horrible time. And my phone, like I had my phone, I didn't have like iTunes with anything loaded on it. The song, it meant something to me, but I'm not super religious, but it was this song. It was the Hallelujah song. I don't know if you've ever heard of that song. It kept turning on like over and over and over again, like playing it loud in my office. And I was like, first of all, I loved the song. I don't know. I just think it's such a meaningful, powerful, like symphony song. And it just kept turning on and on and on and on and on and like over and over and over and over again. And I was like, I looked out and I was like, okay,
got
get
the message.
Just like, and stuff like that would just happen. I saw the number 555, like it was literally like blasting me in the face. And for those that don't know exactly what that one is it's like change is coming, prepare yourself. Don't be afraid. Change is coming, change is coming, change is coming. And it was like over and over and over and over and over again. So like these things kind of started happening. The other thing I think that really launched me is, so like right now I'm 48. Okay. And I have a 3.5-year-old. So around the time that I had decided that we were going to work on having a child, I was fully regular. My cycle was very regular, or so I thought, and I couldn't get pregnant. I got pregnant, but I couldn't stay pregnant. And so I embarked on an IVF journey there's a lot more to it, but like it wasn't working. And so I needed to go even further. And that right there, that like it wasn't working, it was that the outside and the surface level stuff that seemed normal, I wasn't listening enough and deeply enough. And so I started listening to some meditations. I think it was on like the Calm app. And, I think it was just really like, I needed to get unstuck from my life. I needed to understand that peace wasn't something that I should ignore any longer. And then I needed to start like tapping into some of as the fancy word nowadays is nervous system reset. But like, I really did need to truly start like listening. And the only way for me to listen was to do guided visualization exercises. I still to this day can't really do a great meditation without a visualization. It's probably to do with my human design, but started doing that. And then I just kind of created a course and a path. And I just started like doing that. And then just consistency. Yeah.
So why do you feel like so many of us, and I think especially as women, why do you feel like so many of us struggle to connect success with fulfillment? Like, I feel like, I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like in my mind, and maybe this is just kind of like in like the hustle culture, they're like two different things a lot of times. Like they're separate. Like you can have success, you can have fulfillment, but you can't have both. And obviously I think we see people that have both, but I feel like so often we see them as separate things. And why do you feel like women, we get so disconnected from that?
That's a great question. And I think that there's probably so much more to like unravel than we have time here today. But overall, what I've seen and what I've experienced in my own life, and I'll say this, part of my purpose here in life is to share what I've experienced. Okay. And so if you do follow human design, which if you're listening to this podcast, you probably do. I am a 6/2 emotional manifester. And so 6/2, like we share what's happened, and I'm almost to 50. So it's like close to that Buddha, right? But, is that what I see is that we have been taught to not honor our own like inner wisdom and guidance, right? You and I talked about this a little bit before, is that for me, I always thought, well, it can't be as simple as what it is that I feel inside is right. I have to go with other people. And there's a happy medium, right? I believe that we should collaborate with other people in order to learn and to refine our skills and to understand and to gain empathy and all of that stuff. And we should start to trust ourselves. We do have to trust ourselves. And so I think that like what I mean by that is that success can look different for a lot of people. And so that's where we have to like really do start to reveal what it is that success means for us. Success for, the term you see online all the time now, like a trad wife, a traditional wife is, are my kids healthy and fed, every single day? Is my home clean and organized? Do I, I'm not a trad wife, so like, I don't know really what it is, but like, like everyone has a different feel for it, but we are so scared of things that are different than what it is that we feel or what we see. Social media is great because we get to see what else is going on. And it's also really effing tough because if I look over at what Hope is doing and I see that Hope has a different thing going on, even though you and I are so similar in the things that we love, but you're doing it differently. Well, maybe I should do that too, because if Hope's doing it, she looks really happy. That's got to be what success is, right? That's success. And so I think we just keep comparing, we keep changing the goal lines. And for me specifically, I've struggled a lot with being present in the moment and feeling success now for a long, long time. And so it's something I still need to remind myself of. And that's where it's like, if you're so focused on doing these things or achieving or arriving, we forget that the destination is the true reason why we're all here, right? We're not going to, like, once we're there at the Holy Land or whatever you want to call it, our life is
over. The destination is you're in the grave.
It's done.
You're done.
You're done. And so that's where it's, I think that like having these things that work for us will always help us to get back to that present moment and to say, okay, I can be successful financially and I can enjoy painting, right? I can enjoy being with my kids. I can enjoy the true essence of who Annie is. I don't have to hide a part of who I am, and I can still be professional. And so it's like the both and versus the either or.
That's so good. That's so good. And I think I agree with all of that. And I think that I talked about this on your podcast. For me, it's part of my design is that comparison little bug like shows up so easily. But I think just in general in life, you're right. I think that's so we get sucked down that hole and it's not necessarily comparing like, well, I guess no, it is. It's comparison on so many different levels. It's like what they're doing, how they're doing it, how successful are they, how quote unquote far are they, how far along are they? Like there's so much comparison. And I think that for sure, like you were saying, talking about trusting ourselves and trusting that voice. I mean, that's the first way to lose that inner voice is for you to compare yourself. I mean, that's happened so many times. And even this week, I had a conversation with a gal who works at my studio and just coming into question, like how I'm doing things and how often I am or am not. Hey, y'all, we'll get right back to the episode. But first, let me ask you this. You've built a vision that others admire. And you've built something that you're really proud of. But behind the scenes, your body feels like it's lagging behind. It just can't quite catch up to your brilliance and your mission that you have. That late night second wind, the foggy mornings, the hormone shifts, the endless push and forcing. You can't strategize your way out of that. And you already know you don't need more supplements. You don't need another supplement stack. You also don't need another side hustle disguised as self-care because nobody wants to have their health as a side hustle. This is about recalibrating your entire ecosystem. And that's why I created the Quantum Reset, a premium 3-month high-touch healing experience for visionary women who are ready to feel as powerful in their bodies as they do in their business. Inside, we decode your nervous system, your minerals, your hormones. We read your labs like the sacred text that it is, so we have actual answers. And then we pair that with deep energetic recalibration, subconscious release. We use gene keys, we use human design, and true embodied healing. This isn't about fixing burnout, because that's not what we're doing here. This is about becoming the woman whose body is powerful, whose body is completely electric, whose energy, clarity, radiance finally matches the size of her mission. If you know your success isn't meant to cost you your vitality, and you're ready for a science-backed, spirit-led reset, then the quantum reset is your invitation. So check the link in the show notes or send me a message on Instagram, and let's bring your body back online with your brilliance. Now, let's get back to the show. At the studio, and it's like I can run the business how I feel led to run the business. Like I can spend my energy in a way that feels good to me. Like, I don't know. I just think sometimes we think we should be doing, you talk about that a lot, doing things by the shoulds. Like we should be doing things a certain way. And I've come a long way, because there was a long time where I was doing things how I quote unquote thought I should be. And I burned myself the F out. Like we talked about this on your show, and I've talked this on the podcast many times. My adrenals were in the toilet. My mental health was not in a good place. I had no life. Like you're talking about painting and all this thing. I had no life. People ask what I did for fun. I don't know. I work. Like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what hobbies are. Like, I don't know what that means. So I've been there and done that because I lived by the shoulds. How do you see, and maybe for your own experience or the women you work with, how do we pull, because this is a hard thing, because you can get sucked back in so fast. How do we pull ourselves out of the shoulds and really feel like what is true for me?
It's a time. This is a good question, and there's not a super easy, clear-cut answer, because first we have to figure out what our blocks are. What's the talk track in your brain telling you? What's the bullshit answer what are your excuses, and what are, like I said, what are those blocks? And what's the filter? Like what is that filter through which you're seeing things? The easy way to say that would be like, I have a thing with pictures where I've really been working on when someone takes a picture of me that I don't need to have like 15 more pictures. I'm working on it. But my filter is that it needs to look like perfect. And I got that from hearing my mother talking about, but that's my filter. My filter is to not see the happiness and joy of me holding my two beautiful children or laughing while I'm on a boat. And you can see that I have like neck stuff, right? Or a zit here or anything, right? Like my hair is fuzzy. And so it's just, we all have this filter through which, and so we have to kind of break through that. And the other piece is you have to be willing to accept that there's a level of bravery necessary, because you're going to piss people off. There are people close to you that don't want to see you win, or that they're uncomfortable with you being yourself. Like I was working in a place and I started like sharing stuff about myself, and my social media, I talk about like things that might make people uncomfortable who aren't okay with themselves. And they didn't say it, but like I was let go from that job because they were uncomfortable with me like saying the confrontational truth. And that's the truth of the matter, is that you're going to have to be willing to like accept there are some parts of you that the people who say that they love you, they don't really love you. They love the convenient version of you. So this is not for like the faint of heart. Okay. And so that's, again, getting through the shoulds. Like you have to be willing to say like, F it. It's me or nothing. And you will lose people. You will lose people, and you will gain the greatest people you could ever imagine, because you will feel so seen, so loved, so okay, that like if you're having a bad day, it's almost like they show up like in your DMs. I had a newer friend of mine. I was having a really hard time. Like I just was. And she messaged me and she was like, it was almost like a get up, bitch. We're going. She didn't even know that there was anything wrong, but it was that message. She's another manifestor. And she's just like, let's go. Like those people will just like it's like flies to honey or honeys and bees to honey. It's beautiful and it's amazing, but like you have to be ready for it. And then the other thing is like just again, like having people around you that know what it is that you're up to and how it is that you want to start dropping the shoulds. And you can truly just ask yourself, like, what is this future version of Hope? What does she want to see? Not the old version of Hope. What does New Hope want? And New Hope is going to talk through you, and you should just like write that down and maybe put it. I'm a sticky note kind of gal. I have like 80 of them around. You just stick it on your mirror or like whatever you want, or you can pop it on your phone as like a little like reminder. Yeah. So those are some things.
So good. That's so good. And I think you're right. And I think I had for my example I was giving, I had a conversation with another friend who owns a studio outside of the state. And we had a similar conversation, what you're saying, where it's like, you're not going to be for everybody. Not everybody's going to agree with how you do things, or, that's basically what you're saying is sometimes that process of you stepping into, quote unquote alignment requires you stepping away from other people that, like you said, it's so hard. Yeah. It's because they love this other version of you. And that's for me, like, that's not unconditional love, right? It's conditional because it's like, well, but I want this version of you. So I think that's a huge piece.
It's the convenient.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's the convenient version of you. And, we're not meant to be convenient, right? So I think that like businesses can be convenient. I think that tools can be convenient, but as humans, we should never consider ourselves to be convenient, because that just it's another way of saying like I'm living in the shoulds. Yeah. So you gotta stop shooting all over yourself.
Yeah, that's it.
Make a shirt with that.
You really should. I like the one that you have about the hustle hard. I love that. So you have when you're teaching people about this, like stepping into alignment, you have this alignment pathway. I would love for you to kind of walk us through that. And because I feel like there's some tangible things that women listening could take from that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's some of the stuff that I've kind of woven into, but essentially, so there's 5 things. You want to kind of break through and understand, like, first of all, we have to understand like what are our blocks. And it's kind of like that filter that I was talking about, like what's color glasses that you're wearing to see the world. And it's sort of like a mirror moment. You're looking in the mirror and it really is like tripping over your truth. We do need to understand that there is going to be some change and we're ready for change. So it's not therapy at all. It really is just like we want to break through and we want to get unstuck. And so the second piece is we're working on stepping into some peace. We want to also feel, it doesn't mean you're not powerful. We want to work on some of those nervous system things, whatever that means for you. For me, it's getting outside in nature. If I don't get a breath of fresh air, if I can't see the sunlight or hear some birds chirping, like I feel out of it. I don't feel peaceful. I don't feel powerful. And I have a hard time being present. So it's like peace, power, presence. And we identify the specific ways of doing that. The next piece is we get to do some fun, like deep dive. Like it's, I think about it almost like when I was little, I used to get like the 17 magazine and I would take like the quizzes and all that kind of stuff. And I would circle the ones that I liked. Some of it is as easy as like, what do you like? What do you don't like? What do you feel like lost in a world? Like if you had literally nothing to worry about financially, like what would you do with your life? And like my mom, for example, I know she would run like animal sanctuary for like puppy dogs. And like she's a generator, that's where she lights up, right? But she lived her whole life like doing spreadsheets, so like you just really got to think about like what are the things that I love. And so we do like self-discovery and there's no wrong answers and you start to feel like really good and like held. And that's where like you start realizing like this is my authentic self. Oh, my family may not like that. Okay, so we're going to still like be able to kind of tiptoe through there. And then we chart a course, like where do you want to go with it? How do we want to ensure that this is, enmeshed into your life and we work on it together. So it's like kind of like a personal and a fun, like authenticity goal setting, but not goal setting because that kind of, I don't know, it constricts me a little bit. And then how do we thrive? Because that when you really do sort of have that course, and when you really do have all of these practices in place, it's freedom, and you're still, and you're still doing all the things that you want to do. So like you're able to have it all, essentially.
I like all of those. I think that's such a great path. What do you say to the woman, or what would you say to the woman who they're doing the work? And I love the pieces you were talking about. The one you asked, like, what do you want? Like those questions. I feel like it's such a simple question that so few people actually really, really take the time to ask themselves, like, what do you really want? So what do you say to the woman who they're doing this work and they're asking themselves these questions, and then they discover that what they really want is so completely like opposite of what they're doing now? It's like it's like a 180, and there's so much to unpack there, right? So we talked about the people, but it's also like, maybe it doesn't make logical sense. Maybe it's just so far, like, how do you navigate that?
Yeah. I have someone that has that. There's, it's not just one area of this individual's life that is out of alignment. It's every area except for like maybe one. And so this is not an Annie concept, but there's like a wheel of life where we're looking at the different pie pieces of the bits and bobs of what makes up our life, professional, personal, health, spiritual, financial, like all that stuff. And so, I would say this would just be you just take it one step at a time, right? And so you really just have to have a soft landing spot for someone, who is in these situations. It's not their fault, and it is. We have to have personal responsibility. We are the creators of our life, but like, there's no one to like blame. It really is just like, there's no wrong answer. It's all life, right? And so, first off, we just have to embrace that this is where we are, and you admitting and coming to terms with the fact that we're not happy and we're not fulfilled, and we need to do such a complete 180. But that's where, having a soft and firm hand, like on your back or on your shoulder to like help guide you through it, is where we're at. And so, it really does depend on how willing this individual is to make some changes. A lot of times when it's really huge, it's tougher, but one day can change your entire life. I am living proof of that. And so, I think that having my own life experiences, it makes it a little bit easier to feel compassion for someone and excitement for someone who's willing to completely change their life. There's example after example of people living in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s that have completely turned their life around. And so it doesn't scare me. It might scare them, but I think that, when you do have someone that's able to like break it down, let's be logical about it. Okay. There's a compound effect in our decisions that changes everything. And so we just map it out exactly the same way as everyone else. And it doesn't have to be like a right now. Like if it's a career change, for example, like I'm doing this, but gosh, I really want to open up a coffee shop that has rescue cats. Okay, great. I can't do that right now because I'm an engineer and I am the person who makes all the money in the house. Okay. That's cool. Great. It's awesome that you know that. Let's break this down for you. Let's understand why, and let's tap into some spiritual practices that's going to help us remain calm when we get really scared. Let's talk about the business plan, because I do have business experience, a lot of business experience as well. So every problem or obstacle is not the same, but the whole process is still the same. It's just a matter of like timeline and expectations and all of that.
Yeah,
so
that's good. Yeah, I think the breaking it down is crucial, because it's like looking at all of the change, like you're talking about the clan years. It's like all of these areas need changing. Well, it seems like impossible if I'm looking at all of them. I can't change all of them at once. So I think that's such good advice, is just starting one area at a time. And I think that's such I agree with what you're saying. It's never too late. I think that's the other thing that I hear from people too, is it's like, oh, there's reasons why they can't do the thing. I'm like, you're talking about age, like I'm this old, or I'm at this stage in my life, or I'm at this, but I don't know. I'm just of the belief, like if your soul is calling you to do something, you can't ignore it. Like
it's there for a reason. And like there's, I don't know if you follow this woman. It's like Get Fit with Joan. She's a 75-year-old fitness influencer. and she started getting in shape. Her daughter is like a fitness competitor, like a fitness whatever. And I think her daughter like kind of helped her start getting in shape, and she was overweight. She was she's still like, she's got gray hair. Like she's not like perfect, but like she talks about like, you can do anything you want. She just has to do the activity. There's an author, his name is Stephen Pressfield. He wrote The War on Art, and he's like, put your butt where your heart wants to be. And so it's literally like, if I want to be a fitness influencer at 70, like I have to do some things, and I have to be real. And so, it's the same thing. Like if you want to buy the coffee shop that has the rescue cats in it, like you can do it, but like it's going to take, you're going to have to like make some accommodations. And I'm not saying like I have to give up X, Y, and Z. You do have to give up some like actions, but like you have to like make accommodations and put your body where your heart wants to be, or else like that's how manifestation works.
Right. You have to take the aligned
and also
action.
Fulfillment comes to fruition.
Right. You have to take the aligned action. It's like the story of what was I heard of the other podcast the other day, of the story of, it's like some guy kept asking God to win the lottery, and then finally God was like, you have to play the effing lottery. Like you have to take the action. Like you can't just ask for it and like wait for it to land in your lap. So yeah, I think you gotta take the aligned action and be okay taking the action. The other thing I want to ask you, because you said this earlier, I meant to ask earlier, but then we went down a different track, because I think I mentioned it. I think sometimes, I'm trying to think how to ask you the question. I think sometimes it's kind of what I was saying at the beginning. We tell ourselves, we've convinced ourselves that we're fulfilled, but we're really just lost in the hustle. And then you had a term, I forgot what you said. I don't know if you said some kind of a specific kind of hustle, where it's like more of like an aligned hustle. Maybe that's what you said. I don't know if that's the word you said.
Hustle with heart,
maybe that's what you said. Maybe that's what you said. So there's a difference here. And I think sometimes we convince ourselves, because we have this vision, this thing that we want to do. And it's like, it's been on our heart, it's on our soul, it's what our soul's calling us to do. And so we feel like, well, I am doing the whole hustle with heart thing because I'm working towards my goal, but it still doesn't feel good. So I guess my question is, how do we step out of that and actually do the hustle with heart, and don't get sucked back into I'm working towards this thing that is heart-led, soul-led, but it's not feeling good. So I'm clearly not doing the hustle with the heart thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I 100% think this is real life stuff. And the truth is that you don't always know, but it does come up when we're, if you're looking at human design, right, you're thinking about like your authority. This is a perfect example. Like just last week, I finally admitted that like I do not have it in me to release weekly episodes anymore of the Luminous Life Podcast, which is my podcast. I can't do it. I have other things going on, but it hurts so bad because it's like etched on my gravestone before I'm even dead. Like doing this work has meant so much to me. And like, I even feel emotional, like thinking about I'm not stepping away.
Stepping back.
I can't even say it, right? Stepping into some other things that feel a little bit more like aligned for me. So I guess what I'm saying is like, we have to constantly evaluate how we feel in our life and how we feel in our body and how we feel in our endeavors. Like many of us are very multi-passionate people. And it's okay. It's all part of like conditioning, is that like you have to stick it through to the very bloody end. And if you do it all of this, if you like, you see Mel Robbins, right? She's been doing, it's like, okay, like I have the glasses, right? But I'm not that. So like, we all have to just understand that like life happens and it's okay to make some changes. And oh, by the way, that's the way that life is meant to go. So we reevaluate, we say, how do we feel about this? I think seasons are a good time to do it, right? I look at seasons as like, how am I feeling about this? Is it time to make some changes? Is it time to button this up and to kind of set it on a shelf for a little while? Nothing is permanent in life.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And that's such good advice to go by seasons. I feel like And as I've like gone deeper into human design, then I get even more curious about astrology and stuff. Then I'm like following like the moon and the full moon in this and the new moon in this. And I feel like for me, that's where I'm like I'm going to actually use this energy of the moon intentionally. And that's always where I'm like, okay, like, let me see what
That's awesome.
because it is like when you find a time to, in the seasons, that's such a good thing too. The seasons, like, let's check in, evaluate, because I think we can just get just so like, we're just like on the hamster wheel and we don't know when to step off. Like there's seasons for a reason. There's seasons of, on the earth, and there's also seasons of life. And I think that's another thing for people to listening. Because like you said, your example with your podcast and kind of shifting how you're doing your podcast, I've had so many times of that in my business, my brick and mortar business, especially because I've had it for much longer. And it's such a hard thing to like, change can be hard, right? I think that's it. Like change can be hard.
It's so hard.
It's like the unknown and what's going to happen. And this is what's fear, and your nervous system is like, because it's not familiar. So the change can be hard. But I think that's such a big lesson of, especially over the past, I mean, it's really since the pandemic, because that was like a whole thing with my studio. Like I've talked about before in the podcast, it was a mess. And I think that was probably one of the biggest lessons for me, like living it out, was like, okay, like it's okay. Change is okay. Like seasons are okay. Things shifting and changing are okay. Like that. And that's a hard life lesson for so many of us. But I think the more you resist it, the more you're like blocking yourself from what's next, the more we resist the change and the seasonality of life and business and all that,
Totally. Yeah. I think it's like the concept of like flow versus like holding, you hear a lot in this industry, like holding space and holding this and a container for, and it's just like, all those words sound like nails on a chalkboard for me, because I don't know why, but it just does. It just makes me want to vomit. And I know that they're right words and all that stuff, but like the flow is where it's at, right? So like we don't like take a container and put it in a river and fill up the container with a river, and then the container that we bring home to us has the water in it. We don't say that's the river. Mm-hmm. Like the flowing part of it is what makes it a river, not the water that's inside the glass that looks like river water. Oh, it's river water. Gross. What are those floating things? No, like the beauty is in all of it. And if we try to hold ourselves back or put ourselves into this container, then if we hold tight onto the thing too much, our capacity is only so much. But the flow is unending. The flow of energy, the flow of life, the flow of juicy creativity and the beauty of the earth and the heavens and the cosmos is unending. But if we try to put it in something, there's no way. This is why we can't take a picture on our iPhone and look at it and say, oh, like the moon was so much prettier when I looked at it and realized, it's like, it's because it was flowing through you. You saw it, you witnessed it, you experienced it. You can't do it.
That's so good, man. That's so good. I can keep going, but I have one more question that I would like to ask you. But before I ask you that, can you let everybody know where they can find you and if they're interested in working with you, following along with you, all the things?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you all the show notes, and I have a true self like guided meditation if you want it. It's like 8 minutes. Awesome. Those are the types of things that I think are really helpful when you are trying to like tap in and just like hear yourself. There's that question where afterwards, like, what would future Hope want, or what would future you, gorgeous listener, want? Those are the things. I am pretty active over on Instagram. So our _luminous_life. Find me, Annie Adragna. And my podcast is called the Luminous Life Podcast. There's a couple. I recently saw that the old Luminous Life other one, it's like reactivated, but mine is Luminous Life Podcast, Soulful Conversations for High Performers. Soulful Conversations for High Performers.
Perfect.
DM me.
Yeah.
Always there.
And of course, I have links to that in the show notes. So you can go check it out and give Annie a follow. Yeah.
Thank you.
The last question I want to ask you that I like to ask everybody as we wrap up, what do you think is the most important thing you can do to live with purpose?
Yeah, to tap in and to start listening to yourself and trusting yourself, because you have all the wisdom inside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's all that needs to be said. I agree with that so much. That's so beautiful. Thank you, Annie. Thanks for hanging out. And being part of such an important conversation and for sharing all your wisdom with us. Thank you.